Welcome to the next BrightSign technical training module. We're on the subject of player setup. As mentioned in the introductory module, we support multiple methods for publishing, and a player needs to be configured for one of these methods. We support publishing directly to an SD card. We support publishing over a local area network. We support publishing via a web server. We call this simple file networking. And we support publishing via the BrightSign network. In this module, we'll talk specifically about publishing directly to an SD card. And now I'm going to take back something I said earlier. Strictly speaking, if your intention is to publish from BrightAuthor to a card and then put that card to the player, it's not actually necessary to set up the player in advance. The player comes from the factory devoid of any network configuration. It ships in an absolutely clean and pristine state. There are no network settings enabled in a player, and therefore, since you plan to publish directly to an SD card, none are required. However, in order to publish via an SD card, you are going to need a card. We'll talk about that here for a moment. The card can be either class 4 or class 10. We recommend class 10, particularly when you'll publish projects that involve multiple simultaneous video zones like an XD player might support. Class 4 will work for basic presentations, but frankly, last time I was at a Best Buy to buy a memory card, I couldn't find anything that was slower than class 10. So go with a class 10 card. Our XD players have a slot inside where a micro SD card can be inserted. You'll see it on the bottom of the player. If you turn your XD player upside down and look on the bottom, you'll see a small panel you can remove, and that reveals a micro SD card slot inside the player. Finally, that SD card absolutely, without exception, must be formatted FAT, which stands for File Allocation Table. This is one of the original storage media formatting standards that was born as media, and particularly removable media came into use in cameras and in audio players. FAT is a very, very common and probably the default. If you just go buy a card, it probably came to you already formatted FAT. There are several different flavors of FAT. It could simply be FAT, FAT 8, FAT 16, FAT 32. Any of the FATs are allowed, but it must be FAT. It absolutely may not be any other format. exFAT is showing up these days in very large capacity devices. NTFS is Microsoft's proprietary format that's used in Windows, starting with Windows XP, but they've continued to evolve that all the way through to Windows 8 today. Or HFS, which is Apple's proprietary format. Apple over the years has had several different formats, but HFS is their current. Regardless, none of these other formats are allowed and supported in a BrightSign player. Go get yourself an SD card and format it FAT, and you'll be ready to go. In other modules, we'll talk about publishing, but this is really all you need to know if you intend to publish directly to an SD card.